Dr. Tom Roselle live right now, 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. This is Dr. Tom Roselle live in studio on this absolutely stunning, gorgeous, fantastic Washington day. Waiting for your phone calls at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk to you. We're broadcasting to you from 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL. Have a real special topic for you today, something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis in our office. Matter of fact, it's often the key to so many different problems, whether it's pain, whether it's I don't feel good, whether you just have fatigue, whether your body's not working the way that you'd like it to work. Any of those things are possible. And to make it even more interesting for you, to make it better for you, I have in studio today one of my dear colleagues, and who will be your presenter, your host this Wednesday evening in our in-house continuing education program, talking about Alkalize and Energize, Dr. Sushil Sims.
Hello.
Hey, good to see you again.
Good to see you. Hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving.
It was. I ate too much, like I always do. But it was all good food. I was a good boy, and I didn't do bad. How about you?
Good. It's the one time of the year when you're supposed to do that.
Well, or so they say.
Yeah.
Or so they say. You go to my house, and patients always ask, well, what did you eat for Thanksgiving? And we had the turkey, obviously, but it was a organic, grass-fed, free-range, type of thing. And we had all kinds of vegetables, and we had, believe it or not, there wasn't a piece of bread on the table.
And there was no apple pie stuffed in the turkey?
The apple pie was there, but it was made with pastry flour, organic pastry flour, and it was really good. And when Sue makes the pies, they're really good. But I did get suckered in. See, because my 7-year-old granddaughter made a pie. And it was not necessarily the best for you type of pie. And so I got the 7 years old, this beautiful, gorgeous, blonde-hair, blue-eyed little girl looking at me and said, "Grandpa, are you going to have a piece of my pie?" And I said, "Honey, this is the only pie that I'm going to eat." So I waited. I had to get everything settled down, and I sat there, and she watched me. I was hoping that I could set it aside because it wasn't, it was chocolate, and it was marshmallow, and and my body went into shutdown. But this little girl's looking at me with these big eyes. And so next year we have to teach her the goodness of baking.
Okay, just as long as she's not listening to the show today.
I know. They're getting ready to go baptize my other grandson, so we have a christening today that we have to go to. Let's talk about alkalizing and acid, because if I don't, and I still keep talking, I'm going to become acidic just thinking about what I did that day. However, it's really important, and our listeners have heard over and over and over again that you have to shift as much as you can to alkalinity. And it takes in 3 components that we talk about all the time: structural, chemical, emotional. And the bottom line is, it's just not about diet, it's about a whole lot of other things. Talk to us a little bit about, Dr. Sush, what that really means to stay alkaline, and what happens not only when we don't stay alkaline, that we go acidic, but how do we get there? What are all the different components of it?
Well, there's a lot of negative connotations as far as being acidic, and one of the things that we have available as far as measuring things is in our office we take a look at that balance between alkalinity and the opposite of that being acidity, and it's one of the most powerful tools that we have as far as assessing and measuring the health of someone. Now, most people are so used to going to their doctors, and they're used to getting physicals, and they're used to getting lab work and all these different types of tests. But really nowadays, those types of tests are really measurements of disease. They're not a measurement of health. And so this ability that we have to measure the alkalinity or the acidity of what's really going on in our bodies gives us that window that we really haven't had prior to that of what is really somebody's health and what can be done in order to maintain that health, as opposed to, again, what we're so used to, which is just trying to avoid disease. But really, all those tests, all they do is they find the disease once it's already present. This is something that's truly preventative.
You know, when you talk about people feeling bad, whether it's pain, whether you get to a place where you just don't have the energy anymore, or you're always coming down with something. You're coming down with the virus, the flu, the degenerative diseases, all these things. They all can be traced back to the very same thing, a body that is highly alkaline. And we're into that season right now where everybody gets colds and they get flus and so forth. But when you think about what happens, and we have patients walking in pain more so now than they do any other time of the year. But we're also in the interesting part of the year called the holidays. And we do things to our bodies from November till after New Year's that we wouldn't do to our enemies. And the things that we put in it, the things that we destroy ourselves. How does that happen? What happens? What happens to the environment?
Well, see, during this quote-unquote flu season, and, it's winter time, that's when everyone gets colds and flus and things like that, but you also have to look at what's going on, in this case, with one of the things that we have the greatest control over, and that's our diets. This time of year, everyone is eating a diet that's highly acidic. And because of that, it means that we're all eating diets that are highly, highly inflammatory. So with all of the sugar that we're eating, all of the processed foods that we're eating, Christmas time isn't about fruits and vegetables. Christmas time is about cakes and candies and all of this other stuff. And those are the things that, because they are essentially so devoid of nutrients, so devoid of phytochemicals and vitamins and minerals, and so packed with sugar, those are things that acidify our bodies, that don't provide the nutrients to actually keep our body functioning healthily. And we break down because of it. We end up with the colds and the flus.
My guest in studio, Dr. Sushil Sims, who will be your host at the Roselle Center for Healing this Wednesday, the 28th of November. At 7:30 p.m., he's going to be doing a presentation called Alkalize and Energize. And if you'd like to find out how to get out of the dumps, keep yourself healthy during the winter season, get rid of that chronic pain pattern, see how they really tied into the structural, chemical, emotional pathways of the body, this is an opportunity that will really become crystal clear for you. And it'll allow you to really understand that in many situations, you are the culprit. You're the guy that's causing this stuff. And once you really see it, guess what? You can be guilty. So call us at 703-698-7117. That's 703-698-7117. Tell my staff that you'd like to attend Dr. Sushil Sims' presentation this Wednesday, the 28th of November. We'd love to have you as our guest. And there's really no excuse because there's no charge for any of these events that we do. It's our gift to you. It's an opportunity for you. The only thing that we do require, though, is a reservation because we have a limited number of seats, and once they're filled, and we're done, and we have to go on.
30th.
The 30th? It is the 30th? It's then my calendar that I'm looking at in front of me is really bad. It's the 30th. Today is the 28th, right? No, tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 28th, yes. No, I didn't eat turkey except last Thursday. The 30th, scratch that, is the 30th, this Wednesday evening, the 30th at 7:30 p.m. Thank you very much, Dr. Sims. You know what I want to talk about?
That's what I'm here for.
I know you are. You got to keep me straight because, my brain is at that place where occasionally it misplaces things. Yours is still young. Let's talk about... Go back to sickness, bacteria. You go in, you get the antibiotic, you get the script from the doc, and they're saying, well, you're being exposed to the bugs that are there now. The bugs are always there.
The bugs are always there.
So why are we getting sick now?
See, with what goes on in our bodies, it's a constant balance between the normal bacteria that are there. One of the ones that I always love to hear is someone going into the doctor and being told that they have strep throat. Well, that's funny because technically we all have strep throat. Strep is a normal bacteria that lives in the throat. It's only when stress levels get very high, it's only when the diet becomes so packed with sugar that suppresses the immune system, both sugar and stress, through cortisol and adrenaline. Both suppress our immune systems and keep it from working normally and naturally. So with all of our, candy canes and apple pie and pumpkin pie and pecan pie and I should probably stop there.
Yeah, you probably should. You're turning me off, but you're making a lot of people hungry.
So the whole thing is with those foods, what ends up happening is our tonsils and things like that in our throat, which normally keep all the bacteria and things like that in check, they get lulled into a sugar coma and they end up, falling asleep on the job, and then the bacteria do what they always do. They multiply and they grow like crazy, and they grow as much as they're allowed to. So here in the back of your throat, now all of a sudden you've got strep throat, and it didn't happen because you were hanging around a bunch of other people. It happened because you were hanging around a bunch of other people and eating garbage the whole time.
So Pasteur was not on target.
Pasteur, the father of the germ theory of disease, who recounted on his own statements. Yes.
So how do we fix this situation? That's what we're going to talk about. But there's an interesting call that just came in, and I think we're going to take it because it's on topic, and he's talking about sodas and what he can drink, and we know that sodas are probably one of the most acidic forming, degenerative things that you can do. Lenny, are you there?
Yes, thank you for taking my call.
Not a problem, sir. How can we help you?
I think a few weeks ago you talked about some kind of blend to make in place of soda.
I talked about a product that if you were working out really hard, that you would use that, so if you're a runner, if you're an athlete and so forth, in place of Gatorade, which the first three ingredients are soda, what you want to, sugar, I'm sorry. What you want to do is you want to get a liter bottle, and you want to put about 6 ounces of organic apple juice in that liter bottle. Then you want to put 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt, and you want to fill the rest of it up with water. That is one of the best electrolyte replenishments that you can put in your body. Gatorade doesn't work. It's not even the original recipe that was done in Florida years ago, and it does nothing but cause you a problem unless you're sweating profusely and your heart's going through the ceiling. You got to get a lot of sugar in there real quick, but that's not the deal for most of us. Now, as far as soda is concerned, you can do mineral water and add a little juice, and you can make your own spritzer. It's real easy, but it still comes down to waters first, lots of it, half of your body weight in ounces every day. And Lenny, I hope that makes a difference for you. I hope it helps, but just remember that sodas don't work. We're here at 888-630-WMAL. My guest in studio, Dr. Sushil Sims, who will be your host this Wednesday evening, the 30th, right? The 30th? At 7:30 p.m. See, I got it right this time. I looked at the wrong calendar, and, we're in the right year, but the wrong calendar. So if you'd like to attend Dr. Sims' presentation on Alkalize and Energize and find out why your stress levels, the dietary patterns, and the injuries you've had are making you sick and what you can do about it, this is an opportunity. You'll really get down and dirty. Give us a call, 703-698-7117. Welcome back. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. We are live in studio, broadcasting to 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL. Love to talk to you on any subject that you have in mind. My guest, your host this Wednesday evening, the 30th of November, Dr. Sushil Sims is in studio with me, and we're talking about Alkalize and Energize. We're talking about what happens when your body goes acidic, what happens in the environment called your body, and how things begin to break down to the point of producing pain, discomfort, infirmity, and in many situations, irrevocable joint destruction. So, our last caller, Dr. Sims, was about sodas. And sodas. Something that we kind of, preach about all the time and why they're so bad. And you can compound them. You can have real sodas, or you can have sodas with artificial sweeteners.
Neither of which are particularly good.
And not so much.
Yeah, so we always harp on sodas, in this case, specific to the topic, as far as as far as regular sodas go, today's the day we're gonna rip on Coke. Sorry, Coke, but with Coke, one of the top ingredients in it is phosphoric acid.
Yeah, ouch.
And I always laugh because we do this with kids who come into the office, because we have kids and parents who come in all the time, and they'll say, Dr. Sims, I'm trying to get little Johnny off of sodas, and we say, okay, Johnny, we got a little test for you here, and you can, if you can do this for me when you go home, you can have as much soda as you want. You get a room temperature can of Coke. Yep. Okay, it's got to be a can, got to be room temperature. No cold Coke, no bottled Coke in a plastic bottle. It's got to be a can of Coke, room temperature. And we tell little Johnny, you know what, Johnny, I understand that we're asking you to stop drinking sodas here, but you know what, we've got a little consolation for you here. If you can do this for me, then you can have as much soda as you want. And you always see their eyes bug out and get all excited. So we say, okay, Johnny, go home, room temperature can of Coke, take a big old swig of that Coke and hold it in your mouth. If you can hold that swig of Coke in your mouth for 60 seconds, you can have as much Coke as you want. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going home and I'm going to drink me some Coke.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
And the parents always tell me later, little Johnny's all excited, busts open the can of Coke, takes a big old swig of it, and after about 10 seconds, you can see their eyes start quivering. After about 20 seconds, they start blinking hard. After about 30 seconds, they've got tears running down their eyes because the phosphoric acid in the soda burns the lining of your mouth so badly that it's painful.
And it causes peeling and irritation and swelling and inflammation.
So, of course, what do the kids do? They immediately swallow it down and say, that's better, because you don't have the same types of nerve endings in your esophagus and your stomach. But that doesn't mean that the phosphoric acid isn't burning the whole way through your digestive system until your body can waste a number of minerals trying to neutralize those phosphoric acids.
And that's what it has to do. It has to buffer it, because if you don't buffer it, it's going to eat you up. And once your body shifts into an acidic state, in a highly caustic acidic state, like drinking a soda, and Coke ain't the only one. We can go down the line and talk about Pepsi and 7-Up and, Dr. Pepper, and you name them, they're all in line there.
Well, and we just picked on the colas, the dark ones that have phosphoric acid. So, of course, some people are going to be like, well, that's okay, I drink Sprite, that doesn't have phosphoric acid in it. Well, you know what? It's got 13 teaspoons of sugar in it per can, and that acidifies you. So it's double-edged sword either way.
You talk about the white blood cells going to sleep. Sugar knocks them out cold. And they say, well, why can't I have sugar? Well, the point of it is this. We eat way too much sugar. If we're going to get natural sugars like honey occasionally, and it's not going to kill you. But the thing of it is, in this country, we eat on an annual basis about 170 pounds of sugar per person
per year.
Per year. It's like, oh my God, I don't eat that much. Who's getting my share?
Yeah. Our body was designed to be able to handle one type of sugar, and that's fruit sugar, and that's it.
On a limited basis.
Yeah, it wasn't, people rip on fruit and they say, it's too much sugar and fructose. Well, it's the high fructose corn syrup that's in the sodas and the canned foods and the crackers and packaged processed. Those are the things that wreck it. If we were only eating fruit, that wouldn't be a problem. But nobody does that. We're all eating grains. We're all eating processed foods, sodas, junk food, candy, cookies, all of that.
We're talking about acidity. We're talking about how your body, in a state of acid, produces things that you don't want it to have produce. And we're talking about how you turn that around and why you got to be alkaline. And my guest in studio, Dr. Sushil Sims, will be your host this Wednesday evening, the 30th of November, 7:30 p.m. Give our office a call at 703-698-7117, 703-698-7117. Tell my staff you'd like to attend. When your body goes acidic, you end up with accelerating the aging process. You ain't going to look so good. Your skin begins to break down. Arthritic conditions, spinal pain. You end up holding fluid in your body, fatigue, hormone imbalance. You lose hair. Not like me, like male pattern baldness, but, the bones break down. And don't laugh, Dr. Sims, because osteoporosis and obesity, you get fat, you get the gout.
Now, Doc, how is it that something as basic as, metabolic acidity, how is it that it can cause all of those things? Because you just named a whole lot of things that are seemingly completely unrelated. How is it that it can affect all of those things?
You were the expert today.
I set myself up for my own answer.
See what happens?
Good like that. Okay.
I know.
So the whole thing is that with this issue of acidity and alkalinity, we're talking about the basic functioning metabolically. We're talking about the physiology of your body, how your body works on a molecular level. When the tissues in your body are being constantly bathed in acid, you don't need to be a physiologist to guess that something like that is not going to be good for you. When your tissues are constantly being bathed in acid, nothing works the way that it's supposed to. Nothing works the way that it's designed to. And because of that, all of the different processes of the body actually start to break down as they become bogged down with these acids and trying to neutralize them. Instead of focusing on rebuilding and repair and regeneration, your body, ends up chasing its tail, trying to keep these acids from destroying the tissues, and nothing works the way that it's supposed to.
Acid burns, and that's what you have to keep in mind, and you can't have acid in your system without it burning through tissue, without it causing degenerative changes, without it breaking you down. Ultimately, the viruses and the bacteria and so forth take hold because they love an acidic environment. If you can't
thrive in it.
If you can't get weight off, it's because your body's too acidic. If your teeth are breaking down, it's because your teeth are being eaten up by acid. Dr. Sushil Sims, your host this Wednesday evening, 703-698-7117. That's how you register for that class at the Roselle Center for Healing. Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle live, broadcasting to you from 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL. I'd love to talk to you. 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. We are live in studio on this absolutely stunning Washington Sunday. My guest today, Dr. Sushil Sims, who will be your host this Wednesday, the 30th of November, 7:30 p.m. at the Roselle Center for Healing. He's going to be talking about Alkalize and Energize. What that really means to you is simply this. If your body's not alkaline, pH of above 7, you're going to break down. You're going to have problems. And the things that cause that kind of nonsense, we're talking about stress, we're talking about our lifestyle, the good old American diet, exercise, or actually the lack thereof, and the things that go into our body from the outside, all the exogenous nonsense, the water we drink, the pollutions that we breathe, the electromagnetic waves, and the lovely drugs that a lot of you are on. Dr. Sims, welcome again, and let's kind of set people straight here. We get into a dietary pattern, we get into stress, and, I've got to do something yesterday, and we never give ourselves the chance to balance our system out. We're never taught how to take each piece of the triad, the structural, chemical, emotional pathways, and balance it.
Unfortunately, we're never even taught that we have any control over what goes on with our health. This is sort of the result of, take a look at our healthcare crisis. We're constantly waiting on doctors to make us healthy, and we all realize that doesn't work anymore. That entire model of healthcare is a failed prospect. Our health is our own responsibility. We're the ones who have to take care of it. And that's why this is something that's so powerful, because this gives us something that we can do on a day-to-day basis, measuring our alkalinity or lack thereof, measuring our acidity, and seeing how our day-to-day lifestyle choices affect our health through that measure of our acidity or alkalinity.
Interesting phone call I had a few weeks ago. I had been haranguing this one patient because their lifestyle is one of the most ridiculous, next to some of the things that I push the edge with, as far as not sleeping enough and always on the go and so forth. But
it catches up with you.
It does catch up with you. But the bottom line is the dietary pattern was awful. The stress patterns were enormous. As somebody that was sleeping maybe 3.5 to 4 hours a night.
Your recipe for disaster.
And nothing was happening. And I kept going after this person. I said, look, you're headed for disaster. The patient was on about 3 different medications. I said, you are what we call metabolic syndrome patient who's beginning to break down. Blood sugars are going up and cholesterol is going up and high blood pressure and so forth. And I said, you've got to stop this. You have to change your body so it goes from the acidic environment that it's in to an alkaline environment. So what happens? She goes to her doc, and her doc says, this crazy man that you're seeing doesn't know what he's talking to about. The body's always alkaline. And
cool.
Right? So I got on the phone with this guy because my Sicilian got up, and I said, look, I understand that you think that what you're telling this patient is true, but let me give you a fact of life. Your body, and I said, Doc, you're correct. I said, the body does stay alkaline. It has to, because otherwise we'll die immediately. If your bloodstream stays in a state of acidity for any more than a minute or two, you're done. You're checking out.
Your body will sacrifice everything to keep that bloodstream alkaline.
And that's what I told him. I said, you will maintain alkalinity no matter what at your own expense.
Which is why I said before, doing lab work, doing blood tests, that is a measure of disease, not a measure of health.
When I know this Wednesday evening when you do your presentation, the 30th, you're going to teach people how to keep everything in balance. You're going to teach them why getting out of pain is so important if they're in pain, because there's a constant breakdown that not just causes infirmity and I don't feel good because I can't do what I used to do, but in fact that it's clogging their arteries up, in fact that it's breaking their hormones down, in fact that it's causing mental deterioration. All of those things are critical, and people don't understand that dementia and all those things have to do with what we're talking about.
Completely. Again, going back to the question that I so masterfully set myself up to answer, the reason that this can affect all of that is because we're talking about the basic metabolic processes of the body. If you've got acids, and there's so many things that go along with that, and we can sort of explain that as we go along. If you're pushing tons and tons of acids through your system, can your bloodstream carry more oxygen or less oxygen? Carbon dioxide is acidic, okay? The more acid your bloodstream is, the less capacity your bloodstream has to carry oxygen. Last time I checked, oxygen getting to your brain was somewhat important. Oh, no, wait, that's right. It's vitally important. It can't work without it.
Listen, I know all you had to do was think of the sunshine, and you'd realize that what the answer was.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, the other piece that people don't understand, when the body gets so acidic, and physicians don't get this as well, that when the body's acidic because of stress, because of some of the dietary patterns that we so habitually put in our body, because of whatever, the kidneys catch it. Because the kidneys have to eliminate acid.
That's their job.
I know. And if they don't do it well, if we don't get it out of our body, then what we have is a huge degenerative change that takes place, because now the body can't get rid of the accumulation of waste and toxin, and it's got to go someplace. And it's going to come out of the skin, it's going to be stored in fat, it's going to be remetabolized, and then we start seeing all of this other craziness that has no reason to show up. This Wednesday evening, Dr. Sushil Sims is going to help you turn the light on, help you go from acid to alkaline, tell you what's necessary, with the steps that you have to take, what it means to be alkaline relative to your health, and, God forbid, what it means to be acidic. And if you'd like to join us, and I encourage you to do so, give our office a call at 703-698-7117. That's 703-698-7117. Tell my staff that you'd like to attend. You know, I mentioned briefly the skin. And the skin is the largest organ of elimination. And we have to sweat. Now, when people really stink when they sweat, that's an indication of acidity.
That's all of the toxins, all of the acids, all of these things that should have been eliminated by the kidneys through the urine that your body wasn't able to. We touched on the kidneys before. So many of these medications that people are taking. My back hurts, so I took like 12 Advil yesterday. Do you realize what that's doing to your kidneys and to your liver? It's trashing those things. And when we're taking things like that, those are over-the-counter medications. Unfortunately, a lot of prescription medications are far, far worse. We're limiting our body's ability to eliminate that trash. So our body is forced to try to eliminate it any way that it possibly can. So it'll push it out through the skin.
Patients say, well, if I have to be alkaline, I have to give up everything that I like to eat. Well, there's a truth that is not being reported accurately here. We're talking about maintaining the alkalinity on the alkaline side. We're not saying that you have to give up everything, but you have to know how to buffer the body. You have to know which foods are appropriate. You have to know how to calm the system, how to rest properly, how to get rid of the pain pattern, how to make sure that you're getting enough oxygen and you're getting rid of CO2 and not having it accumulate in your body. And I know that's what you're going to teach people to do this Wednesday evening. And I encourage you, if you're having problems that just don't go away, it's really time to take a look in the mirror and see why this is happening and why diet is important and why rest is important and why getting rid of the pain patterns is critical, because if you're limping around in pain all the time, you're going to stay acidic. Give us a call at 703-698-7117. Tell my staff at the Roselle Center for Healing that you'd like to attend Dr. Sushil Sims' presentation this Wednesday evening, the 30th. Give us a call here at 888-630-9625. Let's go back and talk about a balanced diet. A lot of people think that a balanced diet is becoming a vegetarian, but they do vegetarianism very badly. And they think that a candy bar and hydrogenated fats and, the teas and sodas and so forth, as long as they don't touch an animal something or other, that it's okay.
A lot of vegetarians that I know don't eat vegetables.
That's the point. That's the whole idea, is that you got to be a good vegan, you got to have vegetables in the system.
Something about the name just sort of clued me into that whole vegetable thing.
You think?
Yeah. So I know a number of different vegetarians who, their entire diet is grain-based, which is a highly acidic diet.
Which, by the way, is not a vegetable. For many of you who think it might be.
French fries and ketchup are oh wait, they're not?
No.
Oh.
Well, the ketchup might be because of the tomato. But that's
tomatoes
really,
are fruits.
I know. I was going to say, unless you want to go to the other side and say that what it really is, and it's a fruit.
Yeah. And corn is a grain.
And unfortunately, we don't. If it's not green, guys, it's really not a vegetable. So you have to take a look at it and really understand the things that we're doing and not doing ourselves. But we get down to when Sue deals with patients, she talks about an 80-20 diet. 80% of the diet needs to be alkaline. 20% of the diet can be slightly acidic with fish and lean meats and poultry and eggs and so forth. They're acidic. They're definitely acidic, and you always want to eat to the skinny side of the acidic area and to the high side of an alkaline diet. Patients will ask me, what do I have for dinner at nighttime? And we have a piece of fish or a piece of chicken or whatever, but we have 3 other vegetables, and we don't have any grains. And so we buffer it. And so it becomes slightly to the alkaline side, so our bodies don't break down.
Yeah, it's that balance between things. That's not to, that's not to say that any food which is acidic is bad for you. Of course, many of them are, but if you're talking about whole foods that are, unprocessed, then you're talking about foods which may ultimately have an acidic effect upon the body, but they still provide many nutrients. We're talking about having things in a balanced way so that the majority of your diet comes from alkaline-forming foods.
We talk about exercise, and I'm always haranguing my patients. You've got to exercise, you've got to exercise, you've got to exercise. And the truth of it is that exercise done properly is extremely alkalizing, but done improperly is very acidic.
Absolutely.
So how do you know the difference?
Well, there's a number of different ways to look at that. Number one, when we exercise, we do form something called lactic acid. If any of the weekend warriors out there who have gone out and overdone it on the weekend, and you're sore as all get out the following day, you have over-acidified your body. Not to mention you are probably dehydrated. But at the same token, normal, healthy exercise, just like you said, provides that increase in oxygen that all of our cells need, along with the circulation that helps to keep our body healthy, strong, and rebuilding itself.
So we're talking about aerobic activity opposed to anaerobic activity.
Correct. The human body was designed to move. It wasn't designed to sit around. And I can't tell you how often I talk to patients who wake up in the morning, sit down in front of the kitchen table to grab a cup of coffee while they watch the news, go sit in their car for their hour-long commute, sit for 8-9 hours a day in front of their desk at work, sit for their hour-long commute home, and then sit on the couch and watch TV at the end of the day.
And then they tell you they're too tired to work out.
Wait a second.
This Wednesday evening, Dr. Sushil Sims will be your host, your presenter, at our in-house continuing education program at the Roselle Center for Healing. Love to have you with us. Love to answer your questions. We really want to be helpful in any way we possibly can. You need to call 703-698-7117. Tell my staff you'd like to be there, and we'll do our best to help you realize that your health is a do-it-yourself program, that you can turn it around, that you can make a difference, that you can shift things. So if you wanted to tell somebody, Dr. Sims, how to begin the process, we know that acidity doesn't work. We know that lack of exercise is deadly. We know that the American lifestyle, the sad diet, is lousy. In 50 seconds, tell me, where do we start?
Well, this is very easy as I give a shameless plug for myself. Come in on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we're going to be talking about how it is that you can actually measure your own pH. And I always joke and say that pH, in my little egghead nerd humor, pH, not just a, potential for hydrogen, but pH is your potential for health. It's your way of measuring and being able to control what goes on with your own physiology so that you don't have to wait for things to break down. You can see how your own activities, how your own actions affect your own health, and then you can use that as a guide to guide your own health.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. We have been in studio on this gorgeous day, and see, I'm here for you whether it's rain, snow, sunshine, no matter what. And the reason that we're here is because I want you to be the captain of your ship. I want you to understand that your health really is in your hands, that you have the capacity to change anything. And every week at 888-630-WMAL, you can get a hold of me. You can get a hold of us off the air as well. Go to rosellecare.com. That's ROSELLECARE.com. Check us out and send us a note. We'll get back to you. Dr. Sims will get back to you. I'll get back to you. One of my staff will call you and will answer whatever brief question that you may have. At any time that you're concerned over something, please go to that website and get a hold of us, and we'll be more than happy to do what we can to make a difference in your life. Dr. Sushil Sims, my guest, your host this Wednesday evening at the Roselle Center for Healing, the 30th of November, 7:30 p.m. We'd love to have you as our guest. Call my office at 703-698-7117. Dr. Sush, let's wrap it up just a little bit and talk about what are you going to cover Wednesday night? Why should anybody come in besides, wanting to live a little longer and live better? But what are you going to do? What are you going to tell them? How are you going to tell them?
We're going to be talking about how to measure your own pH so that we can see the things that you can do to take control of your own health. Again, nowadays we're running into huge problems of, the healthcare system is chasing its tail right now trying to keep up with heart disease and diabetes and cancer, trying to treat it after the fact. And nowadays, people realize that they have to do things to try to prevent that. And that's why we have that age-old saying, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. Well, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be showing people how they can actually, how they can actually steer that prevention in their favor, how they can actually track their actions and see how their actions affect their health. Again, we're not talking about a measure of disease. We're talking about a measure of health. And unfortunately, we've kind of confused the two. We're going to be talking about your diet. We're going to be talking about our stress levels. And we're going to be talking about the things that we can do to actually improve our health, not just avoid disease.
This Wednesday, I might even stay there because it's great to have the perspective revisited over and over again, because this truly is the basis of everything that makes you healthy. It's a good friend of ours, and Dr. Sims, I know you know him, and he's one of the people that I stand back and say, oh my God, this guy's just brilliant. It's Dr. Russell Jaffe. And about 20 years ago, Dr. Jaffe, by the way, he was the youngest physician ever to be on the research staff at NIH. Amazing man. And he has really put this alkaline acid dietary patterns into perspective. He's research director and doesn't practice privately, but we use a lot of his dietary implications in our practice. And I know that you're going to revisit some of that. And he's, his model that we've adapted and added to and refined in our practice has been very successful in helping us, along with other treatments, to reverse chronic problems that are due to acidosis in the bottom. And again, we want to make sure people understand that acid is destructive. It's going to hurt you in ways that you can't even begin to imagine, and because most of us don't want to look at what we're doing. We don't want to see that we're destroying our systems, that we actually have an obligation, we have the ability to control things. And the truth of it is that we do. Everybody does. So I know this Wednesday evening you're going to go through that step by step by step. You're going to give them a way to measure alkalinity. You're going to give them a way to shift it around. Can virtually anything be changed if people change the environment?
That's essentially the entire way that our body works. You cut your finger. How does it heal? Does it heal because of a Band-Aid that you put on it? No, it heals because that's what it's designed to do. The only thing that interferes with that is, again, if there is something that is interfering with that, or if your body doesn't have what it needs raw material-wise to put itself back together again.
Again, I'd like to invite you this Wednesday evening, be our guest at our office, the Roselle Center for Healing. Your presenter, Dr. Sushil Sims, going to be talking about Alkalize, Energize, and get rid of the stuff that's bugging you. We're here every Sunday at 12 noon, bringing you the most up-to-date information in integrative care. We're here for you. Please remember that. That's why I do this program. That's why we'll continue to do it. See you next week. Bye.